I want to share that I do support our 2015-16 balanced budget as recommended by Interim Superintendent Tom Nelson. As one of our board goals, I want to thank Mr. Nelson and his staff who worked hard to reduce our deficit spending. So thank you.
Every finance working group, every learning session, is there anything the administration would change in their recommendation in this budget, even when we had new information? And the answer back to me has always been no. And I feel in my role as a board member, I need to respect the work that they've also diligently done.
I support adopting the recommendation of our administration tonight and working with Superintendent Pontrelli to resolve our issues as soon as she feels knowledgeable and able to do so.
We currently have not had the opportunity to set parameters for negotiating 6 of our 7 employee contracts. The last 2-year contract settlements of all employee groups accounted for a $4.7 million increase in spending over fiscal years 14 and 15. At this time, I can't support spending additional money in the fund balance, as I believe it would directly impact the district's opportunity to enter into fair contract negotiations in good faith with our teachers, administrators, and support staffs. This year, the board also...
That means waiting till we settle our contracts, then I think that's what we have to do. So
I would be remiss also if I did not mention that there are 7 employee groups for which hard parameters need to be set by the board very soon. We know settling those contracts will cost money.
Or, as our contract parameters have not been set.
Have suggested to me that we should wait for Superintendent Pontrelli to officially begin work on July 1st, and then for her to work with the board and her staff to develop a sustainable model for funding the myriad of issues that have come to the board, including special education staffing, our health services model, the ALC and class size issues from grades K through 12. While I am somewhat reluctant to toss that rather large ball into her court, doing so would allow the board to work with her on many of the issues we must solve and perhaps make board-approved adjustments.
Create a difficult situation for our new superintendent to establish herself as our next administrative and educational leaders. Board members...
Superintendent will begin her work in 3 weeks. And I simply do not want to make decisions now on future spending of resources without her having the opportunity to participate in that discussion.
Class sizes across all buildings, including elementary and secondary.
The issue of class sizes, both at the secondary and elementary level, needs to be resolved. This is not a single building issue, nor is it an issue for 6 or 7 of our classrooms. Well, we have had very few open forum speakers recently talking about our secondary class size numbers. I think we all know some of the class sizes have become large enough for a teacher's job to be very difficult when trying to differentiate instruction in a classroom between 7th grade and 12th grade. To remedy those class sizes would cost quite a bit of money.
That's the issue of where we're at class size in our secondary. It's embarrassing if you look at where we're at ranked as a district with how we handle class size at our secondary level. It's for that.
Asking board members to reinstate the funding and staff that were reduced this spring. In the best interest of the entire district, I recommend that we wait 3 weeks before Superintendent Pontrelli begins her job so that she has time to assess several areas which impact our overall district funding.
Kind of the answer, and I've tried to look for the evidence. I have not seen any cuts that have ever been reinstated, and I think specifically for special ed and nursing, that is one of the fears that you go from however many social workers, SLPs, school psychs, and the slow attrition, and it's, or with class size, kind of the frogs in the pot of boiling water, you just incrementally turn it up little by little, and before you know it, there you are, wondering how we got here. And is the time to make some of those changes that we've promised to our constituents. I just think the time is now.
Thank you.
I'm going to read this, but I do believe this is big picture, and I think that administration and what Kathy was talking about, they were acting on a directive from the board to develop a balanced budget. So what I wrote is, each year the school board makes goals for the upcoming school year. As we heard earlier, goal number 4 is to create a balanced budget. I have watched administration and the school district work tirelessly toward that end, which I admire and appreciate, and it's been, I mean, really, Superintendent Nelson and admin, you've done a great job in working toward that. I believe in spending within our means, and I believe that sometimes this yields difficult decisions. On the other hand, our goal number 1 is to support, encourage, and monitor actions that maintain and or increase enrollment. I've not seen the same effort made in working to retain our current students or attract students who live in our district but do not attend District 834 schools. I'm afraid we have looked at balancing the budget more from an expenditure standpoint than a revenue standpoint. In order to make money, we also must spend money. Something I struggle with is, will the proposed cuts for next year, as well as in recent years, cause us to lose more revenue than the expenses that have been reduced? As an elected representative of the community, I must represent the community. I must truly listen to those who care about the education of the students in this district. I must hear the staff, parents, students, and community members. To me, this doesn't simply mean allowing them to speak during open forum or reading an email sent to the board. Not only must I hear them, but I also must be willing to adjust my thinking and ask administration to do the same. We are a public school system, and whether we like it or not, the public does have a say in how education is delivered. We are fortunate enough to live in an area with engaged parents, educators, and community members whose voices, along with our own, can make us stronger. I think we've made really great strides toward a balanced budget this year, but I also think that the work we've done has been a really good faith effort, and if we didn't get as close as we thought, that people would still respect the progress that's been made. As fiscally responsible as I believe we should be, I also believe we need to examine more closely the needs of the students we serve every day. In addition, since we will be receiving additional dollars for QComp next year, I ask that we defer some of the reductions previously approved until we see how our budget will be affected for the 2016-17 school year. As Rachel Stile noted in the video, students come first, and we need to make sure that that's what we're making our decisions based on. So in order to start the conversation, I propose the following change direction. To reinstate the special education reduction of $300,000, to reinstate nursing services of $134,000, and then to reinstate the partial FTEs at each of the schools where we are asked to do the multi-grading. So it's 0.7 at some, 0.8 at some schools. So that's the change I would propose.
Okay, so there's a motion to reinstate the special education, reinstate the nursing, and reinstate the FTEs at the schools that saw the reduction.
What's the dollar amount on the FTEs?
I think first we have to do the second, or
Yeah, is there a second for this?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Amy, you wanted to know, do we know what the
Total
cost of the
amount
reinstatement?
So the special the nursing services was $134,601. I'm hoping someone can write this down because I'm not that good with math in my head.
We could maybe stay at the 100,000
Okay,
level. That would be-
so let's say 135,000 for health services, 300,000 for special education. And I'm sorry, what was the third, Shelley?
I think it would turn out to be a 0.7 FTE at Marine, 0.8 at Anderson, 0.8 at Stonebridge, and then, because we allowed them the 0.2 and the 0.3. So to bring that back to a 1.0 at each, does that make sense?
So just a handful of the sites that are getting, not
No,
doing the
all of them.
class?
So
And that's,
All the multi-grade.
that would be
well, so I get
five.
3.9 because we've already given them some. So it would be just, does that make sense?
Right, yes.
So,
Lily, right?
right, so I think,
Yes.
so 1.6 at Lilly, 0.8 at Stonebridge, 0.8 at Anderson. That brings us to 3.2 plus 0.7 at Marine, 3.9.
I believe that number was about $350,000. But we also then have another site that is very close to doing the configuration, which could be another two FTE, which would be another, depending if it's one or two, would be another 98, 99,000 or another 182 on top of the 350.
I think you should, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I just leave that off. We're
Okay.
talking about
350,000.
two classes down at Afton and Lakeland that one is over the top right now and one is right at the top right now. So, but my guess is if this is successful, then we would just continue to spend because you wouldn't do any multi-grade classrooms.
So we are so that would be 350,000, and so we are at 785,000 reinstated.
Any other discussion? Amy, did you have anything else?
No, I just wanted to make sure we were,
Knew the money, dollar amount.
and the positions, and that,
Yep.
and every school would be restored.
I saw Paula's hand up.
Yes. Well, I also wanted to thank Kathy for,
On the direction.
On the directional change, yep. The motion was by Shelley to add back, basically, to reinstate special education cuts, reinstate the nursing cuts, and reinstate the FTEs that were cut, was seconded by Mike. Barb, could you please call the roll?
Certainly. Chair Lehman,
Nay.
Ms. Buchholz,
Nay.
Mr. Potacek,
Yes.
Ms. Burbach,
Nay.
Mr. Hebner,
Nay.
Ms. O'Loughlin,
yay.
Ms. Pearson.
Okay.
Okay, the motion fails for 4-3.